All right, so then we come to the LeBron side of things. Um, I feel like LeBron has never been in this spot before because I feel like he kind of always been like the person that's always steering the ship, him and his team. But I feel like I'm not gonna say they the odd man out, but it just feels like everything is not in their favor as it normally would be. What you seeing right now?
So it's the situation is kind of weird because I understand like LeBron like not wanting to take less money and opting into that last year of the contract and getting all that money. What I don't understand is how you opt into that and then like the next day you got your representation putting out a statement saying like you want the best situation to win and you really want to win and like if that means you get traded then you could possibly get traded. It's like you LeBron James, you're a billionaire. Like if you really wanted to help the roster out and win, you could have shaved a little bit of that money off. Should you have to? No, because you're one of the greatest players of all time. You shouldn't have to take a pay cut, but you can't say you want to win a championship and contend for a championship. Look at that roster and say, "Oh, let me opt into all this money," and then we have no money to really make any moves because you know you got a Luka Doncic who's a max player, you're a max player. You got Austin Reeves who's on the last year of his deal. He's gonna have to get paid. And other than that, your roster is terrible. So it's like I get it, but I don't get it. Like, don't make that. I don't like that statement they made after opting in. It's like either go in and try and compete with what you got, or shave some money off and help the team make some moves to turn your team possibly into a contender. But don't complain after the fact. That's the only thing I don't like about it.
Yeah, and I'm not really a fan of the DeAndre Ayton signing. I don't really know how he fits next to Luca and LeBron. Um, I'm not necessarily not a fan of this roster, but I don't think it's a roster as far as like upper echelon in the Western Conference. We saw what happened against Minnesota. Can they beat can they beat a team like I want to say the Rockets? That's probably a 4-1 gentleman sweep, potentially 4-2. Uh, I just don't like the fact that everybody's saying, Luca could have a redemption type year come in extra like super shade. I don't really know what the result will be because you going into another year like Braun will be a year older. This roster, Austin Reeves in the contract year. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of in disarray for real. I feel like the front office
Yeah,
is in the spot to where like okay, they really want to pivot, but LeBron is still there, so you can't really pivot completely
you want to
because
respect them. And you don't. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. They really ready to build around Luca like immediately, like effective immediately. But it's like you kind of can't do that all the way because you got this asset in LeBron, who is a big hit to the Cavs. What's that $52 million play option he picked up? So it's
yeah.
like yeah,
And
it's a
and
lot
it's
of
weird
money.
because LeBron even said like he even said like when they asked like are you gonna help Luca or talk Luca convince him to stand? He was like I'm telling Luca to make the best decision for him. Don't base what you do based off of me. So it's like he kind of knew the position that I mean obviously he knows the position they in. And even still that roster like the starting lineup I think is a very good starting lineup. I actually do like Aiden on that team because he's not the best live threat, but that's what Luca thrives with is like a guy that can go up and catch those lives. So he's not like a S tier live threat, but he's up there and he's got something to prove. He's only 26, number one overall pick. Like he can be productive. I can see him averaging like 18 and 10, 11, something like that. It's just when you get to the bench, they just don't have any depth, and that's what you need to really be able to compete with the OKCs and these other teams, like especially the Rockets now going to have depth, and like these teams that are really good, you got to have some type of bench depth. And Jake LaRavia ain't going to cut it. Alex Len ain't going to cut it. Shake Milton, like that's not going to get it done. Vanderbilt is really the only like viable player like that you got coming off the bench, and even he can be kind of like wishy washy. So they should have did something to shore up the bench, and they didn't. So I don't know if that means you try and move Austin Reeves and do something. I don't know, but they're gonna make the playoffs, but they're not really gonna be in no contention for a championship with this roster.
Yeah, when I think of the Aiden fit, I just think that LeBron and Luca they need to really be with and Luca in particular. When I think of like Gafford and Lively, they real active centers. I don't know how active DeAndre Aiden will be, especially because he's more of an offensive oriented center.
Yeah,
It's not really defensive minded. Like they're gonna
definitely a
even
low motor. Got a low motor for sure.
definitely got low motor, low effort motor at that. I feel like you need to be heavy in the pick and roll aspect, especially with like LeBron and Luca. They're gonna be your main ball handlers. Austin Reeves as well. I don't know if I like the fit. I mean, I'm all for giving it a try. I feel like JJ Redick could potentially make it work. I feel like he's a cool, solid head coach. But I feel like with this roster, it's not a lot of upside. This is it's a high end starting lineup because like the Braun, Luca, Austin Reeves factor. But from an overall perspective on the roster, I just feel like if they was to match up with like Oklahoma City, I feel like they could potentially get swept. I really want to give LeBron and Luka like credit because of who they are, but like we're looking at this team, they got multiple defenders and they only getting better. So it's like really that's the measuring point of how how you feel about your roster. I feel like that's the team.
Yeah, and also with the Lakers situation, like there really wasn't any. I mean, Aiden was the best free agent center out there that was available. You could have went and tried and made a trade for somebody, but then it's like, who do you target to get that trade? Like, obviously, they tried last year with the Mark Williams. It didn't work out with the physical. So it's like, who did you even have on your list to target? And can you wiggle the cap around to make it work if that player's contract is coming up or if they're already making a decent amount of money? So maybe they looked at the landscape and couldn't find anything and said, well, hey, let's give him a shot. But it's a tough situation for them to be in. They really gonna need one of those young guys. Bronny gonna have to be an all-star because somebody gonna have to step up. Because yeah, that team is not it, man.
Do you think this is a potential January? All right, let's see where we at. All right, take some Austin Reeves calls. Let's make some calls going out.
For sure, because if you don't get a vibe that Austin Reeves wants to come back and play for you, then you kind of at that point when it comes to trade deadline, you kind of gotta try and offload him somehow because you don't want to just let him walk for nothing. So yeah, I think this is pretty much like the perfect situation for that as well. Like see how they play, how that trio plays going into January, February. And then if his stock is higher and he's playing well and you can get a little bit of something for him, maybe trade him to a contender or wherever, a team that's willing to pay him, then do it. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see with that for sure. I mean, even trading LeBron is not completely off the table, but it's obviously he has a no trade clause, so he would have to a team would have to want that contract. He would have to want to go to that team. It's a much harder scenario to work out than with
It's
Austin Reeves.
as fun as it is doing the potential, like where could he go, landing spots. I'm just not bought in. I'm not sold on it. I feel like he gonna stay there and remain there. I feel like he gonna probably retire there, even though I do like the idea of him in Cleveland. I even like I thought about him coming to Dallas because they was like be interested in a buyout. They don't want to take on that salary. I even flirted with the idea of him coming to Dallas, and I just can't see him leaving the Lakers for real. I feel like he went there for a reason. I feel like that's just
Yeah.
where he grew up at.
I mean, if he would leave to any team, I could see it being Cleveland just because they're right there in contention, and obviously that's where it started. That's where it could possibly end. But I'm also looking at the Knicks, man. Like the Knicks got some guys they could send to LA. Maybe send like a Josh Hart back over here or somebody else. They can figure something out. But yeah, ultimately I think he stays in LA. But him and Dallas would be interesting. Him and Cleveland would be like storybook ending. But yeah, it's gonna be tough either way.
Well, that's the LeBron saga. Hopefully, whatever we see, hopefully we get back here and talk about it some more.